Hello, I'm John Pollock, and welcome to Fight News Now Extra, where we get you caught up on all of the news in mixed martial arts. Making headlines today, UFC strawweight champion Joanna Jędrzejczyk undergoes surgery following her recent title defense. Johny Hendricks is making a major move, and a big heavyweight bout is coming to New Jersey. Announced on Fox Sports Live on Tuesday night that heavyweights Ben Rothwell and Josh Barnett are going to meet at the UFC on Fox 18 event on January 30th in Newark, New Jersey at the Prudential Center. Barnett returned to action earlier this year, defeating Roy Nelson in Japan back in September, and Rothwell has won his last 3 fights, most recently stopping Matt Mitrione in June. Johny Hendricks broke some news on MMA Junkie Radio on Tuesday, stating that after 8 years, he is leaving Team Takedown and will continue to fight in the UFC's welterweight division despite his recent mishap and being unable to fight Tyron Woodley back in October. Hendricks stated that there were certain things he couldn't agree on with the team and chose to leave. He has also hired Luis Giordano as his new nutritionist. He told MMA Junkie that he is hopeful of fighting on February the 6th in Las Vegas. And women's strawweight champion Joanna Jędrzejczyk is recovering from surgery after breaking her right hand in her win over Valerie Letourneau earlier this month at UFC 193. Jędrzejczyk defeated Letourneau by unanimous decision in Melbourne and received a 6-month medical suspension as a result of the hand injury. Jędrzejczyk also suffered a broken thumb earlier this year after she beat Jessica Penne back in June. This coming Saturday, set your alarm for 7 a.m. Eastern Time, as we will have a 1-hour preview show with John Ramdeen, Robin Black, and myself, counting down to the main card from Seoul, South Korea, which is airing here on Fight Network in Canada, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, where you will get to see the second of 2 Dong-Yun Kims compete, and then Benson Henderson meets Jorge Masvidal in the main event. I am here with John Ramdeen and Robin Black. Some interesting news. First of all, let's talk first about Johny Hendricks. This is a pretty big move for him. For the last 8 years, he has been with Team Takedown, which is not your conventional camp. This is a group that put together a ton of capital to go after ex-wrestlers, and they were going to cover lots of their living expenses. They can train there, but in return, they'd also get a cut of all future earnings. So it's a pretty notable split here with Johny Hendricks, and coming off what didn't go down with Tyron Woodley in Houston and having to go to the hospital, he's made a major career change and is deciding to stay at 170 pounds. I think it's going to tell the tale quite a lot in his next fight by making all of these big changes.
Yeah, I mean, Johny Hendricks seems like a pretty mentally strong fighter at certain points. I know there's a lot of people who say the opposite based on his last performance, but it's just like Kelvin Gastelum. The guy missed weight. The UFC said he's going to go up to 185 pounds. That never happened. I think that'll be the situation with Johny Hendricks. It is strange that he decided to leave the team. I'm interested to know if he's left Mark Lehman as well, because it seems that Mark Lehman is a guy that's given him a lot of good advice, has helped his jiu-jitsu game, which has helped his mixed martial arts career. I mean, Johny Hendricks knows how to wrestle, so just adding the elements of jiu-jitsu and his striking, I'd be interested to know where he goes from here.
And it sounds like more of like there's going to be, he does have a boxing coach, but it seems like it's almost going to be a makeshift team and not going to one of the bigger camps out there.
Which, you know, hey, when people are talking about Ronda having, you know, everything kind of the wheels fall off it and losing, and the issue is you got a makeshift team. You know, you got a boxing coach, and you bring Henry Gracie and your coaches together, and they all have their own lives, and they come together for Team Ronda. And most people look at that and go, that doesn't feel that modern. That's not how the best are doing it now. And that's what Johny Hendricks sounds like he's doing. It's a tough one. You feel for the guy. He's a great fighter, and by all accounts, everybody loves the guy, and you want him to see him do well. But, you know, you're missing weight. All of a sudden, your perception of where you fit and how fighting is has changed. Now you're going to go through this, but on the other hand, it makes sense. The Team Takedown model was, we will help you get to the point where you're successful. And the cut, from what I'm told, is 50%. We'll pay you a salary in the first few years. We'll give you a house to live in. We'll take care of all your costs. In return, later, we'll get 50%. Once you fought for a title once, they make that money back, mathematically speaking. That's how the numbers work.
It's almost like looking at a startup company. We're going to put all this capital in and get you off the ground, and you may never turn a profit, but if you do, we were there on the ground floor. So you can certainly look at Team Takedown. They probably, until Johny Hendricks really made it big, they probably weren't making money at that point.
They were losing a lot of money, and they needed, at the time at least, back when I was looking at how that deal was working, they needed one champion to break even. And they had that. And then Johnny fought again for the title, losing to Lawler. But that's 2 championships. That's 3 championship fights. So they're in the red now. They've made profit, or the black, whatever the good color is. They've made profit now, so that's great. You can't make those deals forever. You can't say to somebody, and if this works out, I'll take 50% for life. There's a limit on it. That limit has been reached. If you're Johny Hendricks, you're like, you mean I could get out and pay the next guy 10%? I'm going that way. So it makes sense financially.
What's interesting is you talk about the modern approach of training in mixed martial arts. And you look at a school like an American Top Team or AKA or the TriStar Academy in Montreal, where they have everything under one roof. They have your wrestling coaches, your jiu-jitsu guys, your Thai boxing guys. But we've also heard athletes like Vitor Belfort, or a guy like Frank Mir has Angelo Reyes, he has Ricky Lundell, where he goes to different places. Is there one approach that's been the most successful?
I think for Frank Mir, or an older guy who knows his whole
Vitor does
thing.
the same thing?
Yeah, okay. John Jones, what's his team?
It's the Jackson Winklejohn team.
And George St. Pierre, what team did he have?
It was TriStar.
And where's
AKA,
Jose Aldo's team?
Yeah.
And where?
All under one roof.
Yeah, and where was Cain Velasquez's team? Where's Daniel Cormier's team? We can name the team. And at that team, we can name the coaches. And under those coaches, we can name the top fighters. That is not the case for Vitor. That is not the case for Ronda.
TJ Dillashaw now, too.
It's been done. Yeah, and for TJ Dillashaw, what was his team when he became the champion? Team Alpha Male. Now that we haven't seen a lot of success when people went and built themselves Team John Ramdeen. Because you are the boss of your own team. You need a leader. Ronda needed a leader in that fight, and Ronda was the leader. And when the leader didn't know what was up, she had nowhere to turn, and that's the problem.
You thought 50% was a tough cut. Team John Ramdeen is just ridiculous.
90-10.
On top of that, Tyron Woodley's name has been thrown out there as a potential trying to put that fight together. If I'm Tyron Woodley, and I've had the Kelvin Gastelum weight issue earlier this year, and then this fight doesn't even happen, I'm not going near Johny Hendricks if I'm Tyron Woodley.
No way.
No way.
I'm sorry.
No.
I want an opponent where I can guarantee that I'm going to be fighting this guy and not going through this last-minute drama.
Dana, you said I was going to get the next championship fight. Never mind what opponent. Dana, you said.
Tyron Woodley's a smart guy, and I don't think he took that. What Dana White said, I don't know if that could even pay for a phone call at a phone booth.
Especially, they're also banking on the fact that they know the outcome of the fight. What happens if Carlos Condit defeats Robbie Lawler? I'm sure there's going to be a rematch.
Totally
which
possible.
Which means Woodley will be sitting on the sidelines waiting for that fight. So,
well, Tyron Woodley, hopefully he comes out ahead of all of this. But Johny Hendricks, yes, moving camps, and we ended up spending the whole chat discussing it. More of Fight News Now Extra is coming up.
This program is brought to you by Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, available December 1st, 2015.